kind of like the one tip that I got that's really changed how I played around the green. It was from Arnold. My first year on tour, here's the top man in the game, came to me and said, Jack, I think this will help you. And I think that was nice. That's what golfers do. They share their knowledge, and they want the other fellows to play better.
Welcome to Best Lessons Ever Short Game. I'm your host, Michael Breed. These little shots around the greens are some of the most important ones for you to practice, but many of you don't. The pros work countless hours on the skills needed to control both distance and direction. On this Short Game special, Jack Nicklaus reveals the best advice he's ever received, and numerous major champions share the secrets they learned from Seve. But we're starting things off with the Black Knight himself, Gary Player.
If I had to say everybody, from the best in the world to the worst in the world, if there was one shot that was not quite as good as the rest of the game, because it doesn't allow it to happen, is chipping. Take the best chipper in the world. If you took over a year, chipping, say, from 10 yards off to the edge of the green, probably the average distance would be that. Well, he's still got to hold that putt. Whereas if you've got long putts, lag putts of 40 foot, you could say the average is going to be that. Big difference. So chipping is so exact because you might pitch into a divot. You might pitch into the grain. You might pitch with the grain. You might pitch across grain. You might just be a little unlucky with the way the ball bounces and has a great effect at being close to the hole. But there's a rule. Keep it low for the dough, hit it high and you're going to cry, or you're going to die. So the thing is that the average weekend golfer, he's right on the edge of the green. I see him using a sand wedge.
Really?
He's got no chance.
Let's see you chip one
Keep
here,
it,
Gary
I've got
Player.
a 6-iron here.
You've got a 6-iron.
A 6-iron, and I always try and pitch the ball just on the edge of the green here.
Okay.
So now here I've got a 6-iron. I'm going to try and pitch the ball right here. It's much easier to pitch the ball here than it is to pitch it on a spot over there, unless you practice all day. So, okay, here we got the 6-iron. Watch this. I'm going to pitch it just on the edge of the green here. Now, look at that. There's perfection for you. Look at this. Tell me where it goes. Now, you know that's not trick photography, right? They saw that on a camera. First shot of the day.
First shot of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you.
Any question any viewer can ask me about this shot, I'm going to say to you, just like you putt. Now, if you're a cross-handed putter, you play the shot cross-handed. If you're separated with fingers down, however you grip it, and whatever your stance might be, just like you putt. Now, you're going to see me when I go to putt, and I don't have my glove on. Well, that's the only thing I do different.
I'm going to steal a line from Ray Floyd. He called it putting with loft.
Yep.
All right, so I like to get the club pretty vertical. I'm not standing way out here with the hands real low. I'm almost more in my putting stance at this point with weight on my left foot. And that allows me to kind of swing my shoulders and make solid contact. And you know, it makes the shot really easy.
And he was a guy who liked to stand very close to the ball. It certainly appears as if you are standing very close to the ball as well.
I stand close to everything, even a driver. But yeah, I would turn this into almost feeling more like a putt.
What I tend to see with a lot of amateurs is they set up reasonable, but as they go to hit the golf ball, they want to get it in the air and they fall back onto their right leg. So essentially their center of gravity, their sternum, as they're coming in to hit it, is going backwards. If this is going to go backwards, you're going to hit behind the ground and get that double hit. So for me, because in this chip shot you don't have that much time to transfer your weight, I like to see amateurs set themselves very much on their left leg. So as you can see, once I set up in my left thigh, my sternum moves right on top of the ball or even left of the ball. So watch what happens when I take a practice swing. My practice swing is actually about 4 or 5 inches left of the golf ball. Whereas most amateurs, as they're coming in, their practice swing is brushing the grass 8 inches behind the ball. If you continually practice like this, you're never going to get a good contact. Your hands are going to be very active. All sorts of funny things are going to be happening. You might get the knees going if you're back here. So you're going to get a lot of this. Even have a fresh air like I just did there. Whereas if you sit on your left-hand side and always make sure your practice swing is left. If you're chronic, even making sure it's a foot left of the ball. Once you're on that left side, sit up there, then you can hit that nice quality strike.
I play in a lot of pro-ams, and I see players that get a little nervous around the greens. They know that they need to make up and down to save a shot or two, so they start using their legs too much. And we all know what happens when you use your legs. You either come in, you know, too much in front of the ball, or you even hit the ball thin, so you really don't get that nice connection. So here's a little drill that I recommend. Just take your left foot or leg, I should say, and put it over your right leg like this, and actually tightens up your hip quite a bit. So, you know, I'm not going to be able to use my lower body here at all. So what you will do here is really swing with the shoulders, and you can see I'm standing very, very still, and it's just a great little tip I think you can use to work on your chipping.
Very simply, I think we all have a lot of instincts, and what I would say to this, they say, well, how hard should I hit? I say, well, how hard do you throw it? If I ask somebody to pick this ball and say, underhand it to that hole, they would probably just instinctively do something like that. So that's about how hard you hit it.
Yeah.
So I would say to them, imagine it's just underhanding it. So if they're here and they underhand it, they get a pretty good roll, and you get a success. So what can I tell you? It's the way you teach it.
That was great, Hale. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change up the lie and the distance for some of your Hall of Fame buddies. Up next, Tom Watson's going to reveal the simple grip change that helped him pull off one of the greatest short game shots of all time.
Well, well, well. And there's a shot that'll be remembered for as long as golf continues to be played.
Possibly can.
Now that's a formula for success I absolutely agree with. Get the ball on the ground as quickly as you can and take the guesswork out of your short game. So who should we learn from next? Maybe one of the best players in the game today? How about one of the best teachers in the world? Well, there's no need to choose, because we've got Jason Day and Butch Harmon together in this 2-for-1 special.
The average player stands completely stationary in their legs.
Right.
And I want you to watch a little motion in Jason's legs just to give a little feel. The right knee and left knee kind of kick forward a little. But watch the pace of this swing. You can see he's picked out a spot he wants to land the ball on, and that's what he focuses on. You don't see a lot of wrist cock in this shot because it's just a straightforward pitch, and those are two perfect ones, by the way.
Jason, do you see a lot of us on Wednesday try to help that ball?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is a lot of amateurs, when they see this shot, they just see a flag, and then they go in and hit and swing away and just hit and try and get it somewhere near the hole.
Right.
The biggest thing is you've got to aim small to miss small. So you have to pick a target and just be aware of where that target is when you're actually chipping the shot. If you pick a target, try and land it on that target. Whatever it does after you hit that shot, whatever it does on the green, it's going to do itself, because you can't control that. So you got to pick your target, try and land it on the target the best you can, read the green, and hopefully from there, once it bounces and rolls, hopefully it goes in the hole.
If you watch Jason set up to hit this, he's actually paying more attention to where he's trying to land it than he is to the ball.
Right.
We see the average person just kind of glance at their target and stare at the ball. The ball's not going anywhere. He's zoned into where he wants to land it. Now watch the rhythm.
I think the biggest thing is to try and, for myself, is to try and match the practice swings up with how far I really need to hit my chip or pitch shot.
One of the things that I'd like to teach people is that, you know, you can change the trajectory of your flight of your ball just by moving your grip around. It's kind of fun to do that. Now watch this. I'm going to take my grip right here. This is the normal grip like this, and this is the normal. That's the normal height for this shot. I'm hitting a little bit off the upslope. Now, if I want to go a little bit higher with it, what I'll do, I'll take my normal grip here, and I'll take the left thumb and put it straight down the shaft, weakening. That's called a weakened left grip. Bring the right hand over like that. Keep the face open. Now watch the difference in the ball flight.
Yeah.
Ball goes much higher just by changing your grip there. That's something to practice. Another thing, then the opposite of that is put the full Harley on it. The left hand, put that left hand over here like this, like this, right hand underneath like that, but make sure that that ball's in the back of your stance. Now watch. And you can make that same club roll.
I like to smother the ball a little bit, take a little bounce off the club by putting the club back in my stance a little bit and making it a little bit sharper. Not so much finishing the shot as I do actually attacking the ball, hitting down on it. What that does is when the ball lands, it actually releases. Instead of checking, the ball will release and then run almost like a 7-iron. I can make a sand wedge. See, I can chip a ball with a sand wedge and make it react like a 7-iron. But you'll notice that the hands will stay in front of, see it? Now watch, the hands are still in the same position to where I finished. I'm not here now. You notice, when you hit a shot, hold the club and see where it's at. And I guarantee you, you'll be here. And I'm still in this position. I can actually, watch this, I can actually hit this ball, hold the position, right? Watch, and come right back down and hit another one. You see that?
And what does that do to the flight or the release of the ball?
It'll release. It won't put as much spin on it. You understand? See, people don't understand. You know what puts spin on the ball? Bounce. Bounce is what puts spin on the ball. When you put a wedge down at 56 degrees and you hit a golf ball, at the same moment that this bounce catches the ground, the ball is on the club face. And the club actually bounces into the ball and makes it spin up those grooves. And that's what puts the spin on it. When you put your hands forward and you take the loft off that club and make it a 9-iron, now you don't have 14 degrees of bounce on here. You only have 7.
You have a drill to show whether or not you're properly using the bounce. What is it?
Well, hopefully I can pull this off, but I'll give you an example of the leading edge hitting. I'm going to hit this tee here with the leading edge. This is the ball back, and when you do it, the tee goes flying. That's the leading edge hitting. It'd be really cool, wouldn't it, if I could release the club enough to get the bottom of the club to tick the top of that tee and drive it into the ground. And it's the way I practice. Just being able to engage that bounce, Brandel.
Come on.
No, I swear, it's kind of tricky. But if I'm hitting and the tee's falling forward or springing out of the ground like that, I'm not doing it right.
Edge.
There it is right there. So you just tick the tee and it kind of drives it down,
so
which is fun.
The back part of the club just hit that tee, drove it into the ground.
Just this very bottom part. I mean, and when you learn where the bottom of the club is, it's so liberating, and it frees you up, and it opens up a whole new world around the greens for you. But then you can then be creative and use your imagination. Seve or, some of these, all the Spaniards, they'd look at the shots and they'd see 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to play it. And if all you have is the, lean left, shaft forward, chip shot, you've got one way to play it. If you catch a bad lie, a fluffy lie, you're in deep trouble.
Seve was just magical around the green, and he left a lasting impact on even his biggest rivals. In fact, the late Spaniard gave Greg Norman the best tip he's ever received. Short game secrets from one legend to another, and they're being shared with you next.
How the club and the arm form a straight line. This means that the club is never passed over having the leading edge come up. By moving the hands forward, that's how we keep the leading edge underneath the ball.
Start writing your style wish list.
Was from Severiano Ballesteros. Seve was probably the magician of the short game. He hit shots better than anybody else I've ever seen in my life. He hit shots that I had never even thought about seeing in my life. But one of the things that Seve taught me the most, and it's remained to this day, he said, make love to your hands when you put it on the golf club. More so in chipping than anything else. And what I mean by that is you have to caress the grip of the golf club. Do not choke it. Do not white knuckle it. Just caress it. The more you have your hands soft on the grip, the easier it is for you to accelerate through the ball. So Severiano Ballesteros, who's not with us anymore, gave me the greatest tip of all time that's lasted to me to this day is make love to your hands when you put it on the golf club when you go to play a chip shot.
Between Sevy's wisdom and the Shark's charisma, that's definitely one of the best lessons ever on the grip. Now that we've covered the basic chip and pitch shots, it's time for two of the top European players of all time to tackle some of those more difficult shots around the green, including this one here, the flop. And we're starting off with Bernhard Langer.
It's a shot we all try to avoid. It's the shot of last resort. And what I see often when even out in the pros at times, you know, this is what the outcome is. Woo! And off he goes.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Good thing we don't have any spectators around. So
absolutely. Now, have you got a better version of that one for us?
I hope so. I wouldn't like to live with that for the rest of my life. So you saw what I did. I never made contact with the ground. I just kind of bladed it, belly bladed it. And as Henry Cotton would say, just try and chop the legs off. So what I'm trying to do is, obviously, I want to hit this high, so I'm going to open the club face as much as I can and use the bounce on my club. And from that point on, the ball is a little bit forward. I'm pretty much right on top of it. I'm going to make a big arc. I don't want to lift this club up and drop it onto the ball because that would make me most likely blade it or hit it fat. So I want to have a big swing, big arc, and come in shallow.
And that is how you hit that high flop shot.
It came down, as Lee Trevino would say, a butterfly with sore feet.
And now we have what's known as a forced carry. You can see there's a bunker between me and the hole. So now we have a forced carry. We can't putt this one. And you say what club you can use. Well, it's very much lie dependent. You can see this ball here, for instance, is lying slightly down into the ground, so I've got to get underneath this. I can't use an A wedge or a pitching wedge to this. I've got to use my L wedge here, my 60, and get underneath this and get this towards this pin here.
Now, how about your setup for a shot like this?
Again, as with all pitches, the weight doesn't transfer. So we must keep our weight on the left side, and we play this like as a bunker shot, really. So it's on the left side. We take the club outside the line, if you can see that, outside the line and across, and we play it like a bunker shot. So we come under, and most importantly, again, of course, we must follow through to get the ball to the hole.
Okay.
So here we go with this. It's a heavy lie, a bit Bermuda-y. It's a little bit of tough behind the ball, so we have to be positive with it. We hit down, there, and through. Now, not bad. That ball was always going to run out because I've got less control coming out there. But sometimes the Bermuda rough, it sits up.
Yeah.
The ball comes into the rough, and it actually sits up like a coconut. You know, it can sit up like that. Now this might sound, okay, I've got a good lie. Well, it might not be, because what happens sometimes if you use this same club and this same technique, what happens, you've seen that happen before.
Sure.
You get right underneath the ball because you've hit the top of the blade, you've hit the very, very top grooves of the blade and not the bottom, and the ball just comes out dead. So what we have to do is, if we're in this position, if it's sitting on top, we change the club. Now we go back to our A wedge again, our 50-degree club, and we get the ball more running. So we're not hitting down on the ball as much. Of course, we're still on the left side, but we're not hitting down on the ball, we're hitting through it that way. And of course, we're getting that ball to run more towards the hole.
We've learned from some of the greats on the short game, but we've saved the best for last. Up next, Jack Nicklaus reveals the greatest advice he ever received, and it came from Arnold Palmer.
My first year on tour, here's a top man in the game, came to me and said, Jack, I think this will help you. And I think that was nice. That's what golfers do. They share their knowledge, and they want the other fellows to play better.
Winner.
And it had to do with this.
I kind of liked the one tip that I got, which really changed how I played around the green. And it was from Arnold. 1962, Arnold and I are playing a practice round at Palm Springs. And I'm chipping every ball off the edge of the green. And I mean, I don't care whether I've got a 5-iron, 6-iron, 9-iron, or what it is. And I'm sitting there hitting these little chip shots, you know, boom, and they're rolling up 3, 4, 5 feet from the hole. And Arnold said, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm just chipping." And he says, "Well," he says, "think about something." He said, "Think about that chip. How good was that chip?" I said, "How far? How good was it?" "It was 4 feet from the hole." I said, "That's a pretty good chip." He says, "Well, let's take your putter. What would happen if you were in the same exact place and you use your putter for the same shot? Would 4 feet be acceptable?" He said, "That'd be a pretty bad putt." Well, sort of think about that. Maybe your worst putt will be just as good as your best chip. Now, sure, you might chip the ball closer sometimes, but you're not going to hit the ball very far from the hole with a putter. So he told me, he says, put that chip and iron away. Let's get the putter out. When you're off the green, let's put it off the green. I use that the rest of my life. And I always give clinics now, and I'm walking up and people say, "Well, what would you do from here?" I said, "Well, 11 times out of 10, I'd putt it." And that's what I do.
We started this show out with Gary Player showing you how to chip successfully with a 6-iron, and wrap things up with Jack Nicklaus telling you to use a putter wherever possible. Here's your takeaway. It helps to master your wedges, but creativity is key.